right. Hello, everybody. This is Turning Left. Yes, we are back. We took last week off. We were all on special assignment.
Hey, somebody's got to do it.
That's right. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to. Folks, welcome back. Happy Wednesday. This is Turning Left, and I am Jason Allen. Of course, always, he is the yin to my yang.
Somebody could interpret that the wrong way, by the way.
Well, he is the Donin to my Marie.
That's a little closer to reality.
Yeah, okay. Sir Richard, hello.
Hey, it's great to be back. Special assignment was interesting. Did a lot of research and threw shoes at people.
Right, yeah. You know, I find that this show on Wednesdays is very therapeutic for me because I got all this built up. I can't believe Trump. You know, you're right, throwing shoes at the screen. And so Wednesday we all out there, and it's great. But we didn't do it last week, so...
you have a pent-up angst.
That's right. I'm like a teenage angst person now. I'm all angry at the world, you know. But it's good to see you again, man.
Hey, it's fun to be here. I've got the putts of the week, and I'm sure we have lots of wonderful topics which are confronting the American public as we speak.
Right. I've always wondered, how in the heck do you narrow down the putts of the week? Because it literally is a target-rich environment. I mean, how do you tell me real quick the culling? How do you get it down, narrow it down, winnow it down?
Well, it's the old... So many topics, so little time. So I try to pick the one that I find most egregious in the moment.
Yeah.
20 minutes after I've written it, I go, oh, geez, here's a worse one. I'll save it for next week.
Right, because you know the person who's ever read the putts is going to be there. So.
Yeah, because I used to really write a daily blog.
Yeah.
And it was easy that way because instead of having to choose from 15 or 20, that was 4 or 5. So it made it much easier.
I had to see. I almost didn't want to know because I didn't want to see behind the curtain, right? Because I got in my mind, you've got like this spinning dartboard, and it's got all the rogues gallery, right?
Right.
And you just throw the boop. Okay, this week it's hey,
it's a great idea, though. I kind of like it.
Ryan, you win.
A pack of cards and just deal them out and stick a knife through one of them.
Ooh, that could work. Could we do that like live on air though?
Probably.
Excellent. I like
We just need a cutting board, a good stiletto, and a deck of cards.
MacGyver it up. Yes. Yeah, no, we do have a bunch of stuff we need to get to. Yesterday was kind of anticlimactic for the GOP as they kind of tried to shelve a little bit the vote for the Senate health care plan. It's called the Better Care Reconciliation Act or something like
also
that?
known as BULLSH blank T.
Blankety blank. So I figured when we talk about this today, right, they've got, the ACA and blah, blah, blah. There's all these little anachronisms. We needed our own anachronism when we talk about the Senate health thing. So I came up with one.
Oh, good.
I did. This one, we're going to be calling it, folks, for you playing the home game at home, we're going to be playing, it is called Critical Response and Analytical Prognostication. Well, let me say that again. Critical Response and Analytical Prognostication.
Crap.
Exactly. That's basically what the bill is. Such a bad CBO score that it actually went into negative numbers.
Right, and I call it death care.
Right. And so, Doc, if you could put up the first there you go. Health care or death care? To me, there's a third one, though. I had gotten done with the graphics yesterday, and I was like, okay, we'll just go with this. But it's really 3. It's health care. Is it health care? Is it death care? Or is it just a massive tax cut for the 1%?
Oh, it is. And for that, I call it pet care.
Pet care, no kidding. Oh, my gosh. So, okay, a lot of people out there, they see what's going on in the Senate. They saw what went on in the House. And, maybe you're doing your 9-to-5 job. You're living your life. You got, the soccer practice. You got the kids. You're doing your own thing. And you say to yourself, good Lord, what is in this Senate bill, right?
Most of the senators don't even know.
Right. They were behind closed door. There's been no hearings. There has been no debate on it at all. Literally, the master plan, folks, the master plan was after McConnell unveiled it, last Thursday?
Right.
They wanted to wait a grand total of, I think 7 days before the 4th.
They wanted to let it out, have a quick vote before the 4th.
And ram it down Americans' throats.
Right. And then they came to the unpleasant conclusion that up to 5 senators said, no way in hell are they going to vote for it. Mm-hmm. And so now they pulled it off, and all the arm twisting begins. Mm-hmm. Or I like to call it senatorial bribery.
Right. And after they'd shelved it yesterday, a lot of us on the left and even the moderates and even moderate Republicans, they were like, whew, it's over. Folks, I don't want to pour water in your ear and tell you it's raining, but I got to be truthful with you. It's not over, okay? It's not over. Here is Jason's, a part of my critical response and analytical prognostication. I'm gonna tell you right now how this is gonna go down. Okay, this is my theory, Richard.
I'm listening.
I truly believe that they threw this out there. McConnell did this shove it on the wall. Okay, let's see what sticks, right? See what sort of heat we're all going to take from this, because it's going to be bad, but we need a weather gauge. Okay?
Right.
And so I truly believe that the plan was never and is never that they're going to go for the vote before the 4th. Why is that, folks? Because these people are going to go home for the 4th, and they're going to face town halls and other stuff, and they don't want to do that. Because if you ram something this horrendous down people's throats, people are going to be in the streets.
They already have been. I mean, it's just going to get worse when you go to the House found that out when they went to their own town hall meetings, and they had their own constituents who were Republicans throwing things at them, berating them, swearing at. These guys were running out of the room because they had no clue that their own base would be so pissed off.
Right. And so I really think that what they're going to do, and I could be wrong, they could try to force it down a Friday right before the break and go, but I really think that they're going to wait while they go home, and that way they don't face a lot of critical response and analytical prognostication from the home people, right? They don't want to catch that crap. And so what they're going to do is they're going to come back from the 4th, and then they're going to try to ram it down your throat, because then they don't have to go back to the constituents for a while. And hopefully, the American public, we're going to go on to bigger and better things after that.
Especially because most of those 4th of July meetings with representatives and senators are at like county fairs or at big 4th of July celebrations.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be booed off the stage.
Right.
That's the last thing they want. The other thing, too, is that they just need time to convince all the people who are voting against it, and we're talking about the Republicans, because if they lose 3 Republicans, it goes down in flames.
Right.
So Olympia Snowe already said there's no way she was going to vote against it. I think King and a couple other ones already said no, there's no way, because not only are they either up for re-election, or they have a huge Medicaid constituency within their state, and they have enough chutzpah to know that it's going to hurt my people.
Right, because, there is most definite swing states. You got your, even like Wisconsin, right? You got your Wisconsin, you got your Ohio, you got your Pennsylvania, which is folks, these are not out-and-out red states. So these guys see the writing on the wall. Portman and them, they don't want to go back home and face what would almost a tribunal, right? What are you doing? And so I think they're going to wait until after the 4th. They're going to try to come back after the 4th and ram it down. So you're saying to yourself right now, man, I've heard about this. Everyone's going crazy over this. So contentious, but I really don't know what's in it. So I thought for a bit we would sit down and drill deep on this and try to tell you and whoever's listening right now what is what some of this is about, and more importantly, how it affects you. Now, I realize that we do the show here from the scenic Portland, Oregon, and we have something called the Oregon Health Plan, right? So we're kind of spoiled in the way that Oregon kind of figured it out early. But if you're up in Washington, folks, if you're in Vancouver, you're in Battleground, you're in Camas, you're in Seattle, you're in Yakima, you're in Spokane, you're in Idaho, you're in California, and all parts east, this is going to affect you, right? This is going to deal in your daily life, and you should at least know what is going to affect 1/6 of the United States economy. So let's drill down. Let's talk about Obamacare, or the ACA.
The ACA.
Versus the House Plan, the American Health Care Act.
Trump Care.
And this Better Care Reconciliation Act.
Which is just a bunch of crap.
It's a bunch of crap, yeah. So, in Obamacare, you could be on your parents' plan up till the age of 26.
Correct.
Okay. Now, believe it or not, with both the other plans, there has been no altering of that.
Correct.
Okay? But let's say you are retired. Let's say you are of a more fixed income low. And as we know with the baby boomers, this affects a lot of people, not only through the plan, but the Medicaid cuts. Okay.
Right. It's now it's the second largest voting bloc in America.
Right. So the first shot across the bow, folks, I want you to think about this for a minute. If you are over 65, if you have health concerns, and this is beyond the pre-existing stuff. We're not going to get to that yet.
No. This is the cream off the top that's rotten.
Yeah, if you are over 65, and let's say you were in a assisted living facility or you were in a nursing home, with the Senate plan, as with
the House
Plan, you get a grand total of coverage for 100 days. After 100 days,
you're on your own.
And you know that grandma and grandpa are in the it's no longer, this is their health right now. That is status quo now, okay? And so you have to deal with the fact that you have a 100-day deadline, and after that, leave it up to fate.
Well, yeah, and assisted care can run up to $7,000 a month.
Yes.
And that's reasonable in terms of what the Republicans figure. It would be even higher in places like San Francisco, New York, Chicago, where you have a greater number of those people, and you have a higher cost of living index.
Exactly right. And folks, you see the stuff on paper, and it's all there in black and white, and it seems non-personal, right? It doesn't touch base with you. It doesn't hit you in your heartstrings. So I'm going to tell you a little story real quick, and I'm going to tell you my father passed away a year ago. He had the bad triple threat of Parkinson's, dementia, and Alzheimer's.
Oof.
And since I was basically the last Allen standing, it was up to me to make sure that he was taken care of. With working 40 years and a pension and a IRA and everything like that, those those homes, because the state of Oregon doesn't let you take care of elderly with dementia, they need special care. You have to have them in a special facility. That special facility costs about $6,500 a month. Okay, and so think of that. Now let's take that. Okay, and let's work in the fact that you only get covered for 100 days. So where is that money going to come from? Now, people who are young aren't even thinking about that because, hey, I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't have that. But even though you were young and healthy, you have a mother and father, and you have a grandparents, right? And so chances are you're going to have to start thinking along those lines. With this plan, you're definitely going to have to start thinking along those lines. $6,500 a month that I had to sweat about.
That's $720,000 a year.
And that's just a ticket to get into the door of one of those facilities.
Right.
That's not. That is also not, all the prescription drugs.
Right.
All the ancillary costs that come with dealing with that. Now, people say, well, Jason, that's a special deal because that was dementia and Alzheimer's, right? Okay, so let's talk about the other things like cancer.
Right.
Chemo rates, the treatment, the drugs that go into that. All this is into the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And that, folks, that has usually been paid by Medicaid and or Obamacare, right?
Right. That includes things like dialysis. Anything that's a long-term prescriptive need so that you can survive is on the chopping block. So as I've told people when they ask, well, what do you think about it? I said, well, do you have grandparents?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what the reality is. If you can't afford them and you can't afford their medication, what is the outcome going to be? And it's very simple. Death.
Yeah. This actually, I can't get any more basic than this. This actually flies in the face of the Hippocratic Oath. Do no harm. This bill is going to do a lot of harm.
Well, interesting, the AMA is not in favor at all of this bill.
No. AMA has come out and trashed it. The AARP.
Yes, AARP is actually targeting McConnell and the senators that go to vote positively for this.
Right.
And that's one group you really don't want. They're like the NRA for old people.
Right. And so, since we were talking about the first contrast I put up there was for people who are over 65, right? So chances are, if you were over 65, you're on at least some sort of Medicaid. Okay, so you say to yourself, Jason and Sir Richard, how is that going to affect Medicaid? How is this going to affect Medicaid? Folks, Medicaid is going to get slashed by $840 billion. Let me say that again for you so that there is no gray area.
It's the big B.
with the capital B.
Yeah, really.
$840 billion. Medicaid. What is Medicaid for? Medicaid is for low income. Medicaid is for the elderly. Medicaid is for the disabled. Medicaid is for those who are under the poverty line.
Children.
Exactly. The most disadvantaged subsect of America is going to be
hung out to dry,
apocalyptically affected.
Yeah, absolutely.
By a cut of $840 billion dollars.
And Medicaid, it works just like Medicare works.
Right.
Yes, there's bad actors, but in general, they work. They keep people healthy. They allow pregnant mothers to get prenatal care.
Yes.
All of which eventually rolls down the line to the health care of America in general. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't get prenatal care, you don't get the care you need as a child, the chance of you becoming a real active participant in your country is diminished.
Right. One of the genius things about the ACA was there was a little vision there. They tackled things that people say, oh, we don't need preventative care. Yes, you do, because you're right. As people grow and get older, chances are stuff is going to happen to you, right? You living, you're breathing, you're living. That's what happens. And so when you start cutting things like preventative care, you're just asking for trouble. This seems so,
Even the AMA has stated more than once that wellness or preventative care is so much less costly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because it gets people at the early stage of some program or some process or some illness. And if you get it early, you can cut the cost down by taking care of it early. It's like if your car breaks down and you know the brakes need to be fixed, so you're going to keep driving it anyway, hoping that, well, I won't have to stop anywhere between here and there for the next month. Most people would say, no, I got to go get my brakes fixed because I might die in the process. Well, It's exactly the same thing. You might die in the process.
Exactly
I mean, the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, has scored this, and they even said that tens of thousands of Americans will die needlessly because they don't have access or affordable health care. Needlessly. We're not talking about people who are totally sick, but some you get dengue fever and you have to be in the hospital.
Yeah.
And guess what? That $3,000 a day in ICU is not covered.
Yeah, that'll cover maybe the first half hour.
Right.
But you're right. The CBO. Let's talk about the CBO score here for a second, right? They said, and this is a conservative estimate, right? This wasn't an up to. This was just conservative. That 22 million people were going to be forced off the coverage, and not only that, within the first year, 15 million. Okay, now think about that. 15 million. Do you know where you sit within the 15 million? Are you safe? Are you not safe? Does it cause you now problems to think about that? It should. 22 million Americans, and that is the bare bones minimum. They said that this could go as high to affect in some way or another as much as 40 to 45 million people.
Right. And the other thing you have to remember, folks, is that the CBO, is the way it's written is it is a nonpartisan agency that can't throw. It's basically like, think of actuaries and statisticians. That's what all they are. That's all it does, is it provides numbers so that senators and congressmen and women can make a decision based on fact rather than what they're doing on fancy.
Right. And if you're not even, you say, well, Medicaid doesn't affect me. I'm fine with that. There are other problems and other factors that go into this. Folks, if you have a pre-existing condition, now your state, when it gets shoved back to the state, can opt out of having any sort of guideline coverage for, you can't no longer can force the insurance company to look the other way on pre-existing. Oh, no.
Right.
If you have a pre-existing condition, you're back to the bad old days of either not getting covered at all, or if you were lucky enough to find a carrier that is willing to take you on, you're going to be being paid such an inflatable prices that it is
you won't be able to afford it.
Yeah, you ain't gonna afford to eat alone.
Right.
Between that and the care, and I'm talking about the people with like cancer, right? Or you have MS, so it's really serious debilitating disease.
Diabetes.
Diabetes, right there. 20. You're one of the 22 million. You're one of the 22 million. Okay. So the pre-existing conditions is huge, right? We thought we were past that with Obamacare. Now we have to stare the ugly beast back in the face.
Right, and then there's the problem that comes up with if you lose your coverage.
Yeah.
Currently under Obamacare, every year you can sign up for somebody new. In the Republican bill, you're out to lunch. Totally.
Yeah.
Because they'll cut you off for 6 months. You could be without coverage for 6 months if you dropped care because you couldn't afford the premium that month.
Yeah.
So for those folks who are sitting out there who happen to be self-employed and you don't have a paycheck which is rock solid week after week after week, you are in danger of losing your health care coverage for easily up to 6 months, if not more, and then the penalty will be pretty heavy, they've said. The other thing that's really stinky about it is that they are going to be punishing all the states that voted blue in the election.
Yep.
They are going to defund them by giving them less block grant money.
That's a wonderful segue, because my next point was and to me, this is one of the more insidious things beyond the Medicaid, which is just, I don't use this word lightly, and I usually don't throw things out like that, but the whole Medicaid slash is just evil.
Oh, it
right?
is evil.
I mean, it's just there's
It's
no
draconian. Think of all the worst adjectives you could possibly put. This bill has it. It is a huge tax shift from working poor, working families in the middle class, giving millionaires who don't need it extra money. Warren Buffett was going to make $8 million a year more because he would be a beneficiary of this, to which he said he didn't need the money.
Right. One of the more insidious things about this Better Care Reconciliation Act is, again, their focused hatred of Planned Parenthood.
Oh, yeah.
They want to install a year ban and then reassess at that time. Folks, if you think the year ban is just going to be a year ban, welcome to Turning Left. We have some wonderful waterfront property in Utah for you. It's not doable, and just it's insidious though the way they go after. I mean, they're in some districts here in the country, Planned Parenthood is the only place where these people can go. Okay?
Right, and we're not talking about abortions. We're talking about health care for women and children.
Yes.
Some of the elderly, men even also. Abortions are like 2% of what they spend their money on. They are your neighborhood urgent care type situation that will disappear, and many communities will have nothing.
Right.
So your choice is, if you get hurt, you have to go spend $3,000 a day in an ER.
Yeah. I mean, think about what is going to be lost alone on the early mammogram screenings.
Oh.
I mean, how many people's lives have been saved because they went to a Planned Parenthood and they got a mammogram and they were able to find early detection?
And part of that was because insurance companies didn't cover mammograms.
Right.
For years and years. So Planned Parenthood was the only place you could get a mammogram.
Let's all have a moment of silence on that and think about the implications of this Better Care Reconciliation Act as it applies to Planned Parenthood. Not only with Planned Parenthood, but let's talk about people with disabilities for a second. Okay?
Correct.
Once again, a lot of the people with disabilities, they will fall under the purview of somewhat of Medicaid. Okay?
Right.
And with the $840 billion slash in Medicaid over for 10 years.
10 years.
People with disabilities just suddenly aren't going to be disabled anymore. It's not like, okay, we're good. Hey, not a problem. So let's ask ourselves, what happens to those people who are disabled that need that extra care and that extra coverage because they have to live with such debilitating just disabilities with their whole lives. They have to live a life that we have no idea. I mean, I'm spoiled. I am a spoiled white middle-aged bald dude.
Well, we're talking about children too. So children require special help both at the home and also in school, just to be able to be considered a functional person.
Yes.
And so it could be your cousin, it could be your own child, it could be your aunt's daughter, it could be your aging son, it could be anybody that encounters a disability, and that could be from a car accident. We're not talking just that you're born with a physical disability. Just life causes disabilities, one way or another. Whether it's on the job or something else like that, you're going to be out of luck.
Right. And if you're talking with people with disabilities, folks, the bottom line is this. By 2026, more than 15 million people will fall off the rolls of Medicaid. That is. I'm sorry, you say, Jason, that's not true. It is true. Look through the bill, look through the CBO. It's all there in black and white. It's not fake news, folks. It's not fake news. This is real. Okay? So if you're in disabilities...
Yeah, and your life is in jeopardy.
Right.
Healthcare is the only thing between you and the Grim Reaper.
Right.
And so when you take away healthcare, there is no option. People will die needlessly, and that just makes me really angry. How can the wealthiest country in the world treat their citizens like peasantry, which is just exactly what's happened?
Right. Not only that, we haven't even taken into account yet, we haven't even touched on mental health.
Oh, right.
That goes then back to the states where the block grants, and each state will be able to opt out of even offering any sort of mental health services. Now, again, if you're in Oregon like we are, chances are you'll be okay. If you live, however, I don't know, Alabama, Montana, Idaho, Alabama, South Carolina,
Missouri,
you name it, fill in the blank. Chances are your mental health coverage is now gone. So we know that the great untold and the great, the rug Americans they want to sweep it under is the mental health, the state of mental health in our country.
And ever since Ronnie Reagan's destroyed the safety net for mental health in the United States. If that's why you see so many people, so many homeless people on the street, they're talking to themselves, or they're doing weird things, or you find people with mental disabilities are going in buying guns because there is no one there to help them. They feel hopeless. They feel like they're not people anymore. They have, as Janis Joplin once said, ain't got nothing, you have nothing to lose.
That's exactly right. And the last bit I want to talk about the Better Care Reconciliation Act is, what if you're wealthy? What if you're wealthy? If you're wealthy, folks, you make out like a bandit. If you're wealthy, that $840 billion Medicaid tax cut is going to affect you, the 1%. Yep, the 1%, folks, you get to breathe a little bit easier, because not only do you get to take advantage of tax loopholes and all the rigmarole that you go through to make sure very little money gets taken out of your pockets, you get an extra help. That's right. Trump and the Republicans, in all their wisdom, they're going to help you be even more rich.
Sounds a little bizarre, if you ask me.
It is. That's why it's not only health care. It's not only health care. That's why it's not only death care, which people are going to die from this. It's also, it's all tax reform. You know?
It's a massive tax shift away from the people who have to work for a living to the people who think they work for a living.
Right. And folks, here's what I want you to think about, too, also. We're sticking pins in things because we want you to think about some stuff. But think about this. You've got a guy like the current president of the United States who hasn't paid taxes in 20 years, now going to make even more money off the backs of the elderly, the poor, and the disabled. Think about that. Those people in the big, shiny houses on the hill, that their country clubs and their Mercedes-Benzes, they're fine. They've got money in their pocket. All right, but they don't want you to have health care. They don't believe that health care is a right for you, okay? This gets down to the core of what America is and what America stands for, and I'm going to lay it right on Main Street right now. It all comes back to the old biblical question, are we our brother's keeper, okay? There is a certain segment within the Republicans and the current administration that says every man for themselves. We don't care. We don't want to know about your problems. We are not going to pay for you. How many times have you heard that on the news and or the Right Talk radio? It's not our obligation to take care of you. We are not our brother's keeper. Folks, you are your brother's keeper, whether you want to believe it or not. We live in what I believe the best country that has ever been devised on planet Earth. We take care of each other, okay?
And if we didn't take care of each other, you'd have anarchy reigning. You'd have, it would be the Middle Ages all over again.
Right.
Or probably more like the Dark Ages all over again. Societies only function well when there are just laws that, one, affect everybody, and two, keep the populace feeling like they are taken care of.
Right.
Whether it's the fact that you have stop signs where they really need to have stop signs because they have children crossing a zone to get to school,
Right.
which is should be a no-brainer, right? It's that same mentality. Well, you're on your own, you know. We're not going to put stop signs up because it costs too much, and that's a good reason. Costing too much is not a reason to not or to do anything. It is not a reason.
Yeah.
It is a Satanistic philosophy that has no place in any modern civilization whatsoever.
Right. Listen, every other civilized country on the planet has some sort of national healthcare system. Folks, we live in our own bubble. We think that this is the norm. When we take on a world view, this isn't the norm. Okay? In most of the civilized world, there is a single payer system and a nationalized healthcare system. It seems to be working out for a lot of the European Union.
Britain started theirs in the early 50s, and the people decided they wanted to spend money, their tax dollars, to go to keep people healthy in Britain. Same thing happened in Japan. I mean, you can run down the list. Even, I know this sounds crazy, folks, China. China has a healthcare program that covers all Chinese people. They don't go in and have to pay $3,000 a day to be in an ER. The government covers it. Yes, it's a communist country. Oh my, you mean to say that a communist country is ahead of our capitalistic system? The answer is yes, they are.
Yeah. And folks, we could talk about this for hours. This show is only an hour long. Unfortunately, we've got to move things along. But if you don't know what is in that plan, if you have no idea, if you're hearing stuff for the first time from us just talking about it, ignorance is not bliss. I need you to start reading stuff, and I need you to get caught up on it, and I need you to start vocalizing, because if you are silent, democracy loses.
And another thing you can do is, in Oregon, we have two great senators who are obviously voting against the bill. Yeah. But if you have friends, relatives, sons, daughters living in other states who are voting for the bill, call them up and tell them what's going to happen to them, and that they should call their senator to voice their disapproval of this draconian death camp bill.
I believe this is the part where the congregation says amen.
Hey, I would rather sing to the choir than sing to a bunch of deplorables.
Right. Speaking of, bad segue, bad host, naughty. Okay, we're going to move on now. Yesterday there was quite a contentious exchange between a reporter and Sarah Huckabee Sanders during their now increasingly rare televised and live press briefings. She came out there, and her opening statement was to basically call the media, the whole
fake news,
this whole Russia Trump collusion thing. It's a hoax. It's all a hoax.
Very Nixonian, though.
Well, very Nixonian. But a gentleman who is a reporter for a suburban Washington, D.C. paper, he had had enough. He stood up in there and basically, he basically called her and the Trump administration out.
Yes, it was in the White House press briefing room.
Right after she calls the media and the free press basically a disgrace. He got up and he said that she was rightly so, that what she's saying is inflammatory. And I'm not sure, can we dig up real quick, Doc? Could we dig up audio, the audio exchange of that? Because it really is, the guy, you can tell the emotion in his voice. He he had had enough.
Yes, he had, and she was like deer in the headlights as far as I was going to. She doesn't have a clue.
No, not a clue.
Much like her father.
All right, Doc.
Reporters resign.
Come on, you're inflaming everybody right here, right now with those words. This administration has done that as well. Why in the name of heavens? Any one of us, right, are replaceable, and any one of us, if we don't get it right, the audience has the opportunity to turn the channel or not read us. You have been elected to serve for 4 years at least. There's no option other than that. We're here to ask you questions.
Right.
You're here to provide the answers. And what you just did is inflammatory to people all over the country who look at it and say, see, once again, the president is right and everybody else out here is fake media. And everybody in this room is only trying to do their job.
Well, I disagree completely. First of all, I think if anything has been inflamed, it's the dishonesty that often takes place by the news media. And I think it is outrageous for you to accuse me of inflaming a story when I was simply trying to respond to his question.
She's got inflammatory brain disease.
That's right, inflammatory brain disease. I like that. We're going to run with that.
Okay.
But what do you say? And this is one of those running questions I've had ever since the campaign. What do you say in response to something that is so, well, bat crap crazy that it is total alternative reality? I mean, she basically said, no, you're the response because you guys write just things that are not untrue. When that is the biggest pile of crap. And once again, I'm using the CRAP, critical response analytical prognostication. That's crap.
Yeah, because unlike the White House, reporters end up being edited for accuracy, and they won't put stuff on that isn't accurate. And if it is inaccurate, it gets pulled back with a response saying, we're sorry, this was inaccurate, we apologize. They don't do that at the White House.
No. And see, in fact, that happened not too long ago. A few days ago, CNN had to retract a story.
Right.
Reporters had to resign over it.
Right.
Because there is such a thing as journalistic accountability.
Yes, there's a purity that journalists in America try to cling to, and that's by telling the truth as they have researched it.
Yeah, and this whole assault, and I truly believe it is a assault on the free press of this country by those on the right.
Oh, it is.
Of trying to malign and fake news. You cannot believe anything they say, to the point that the Trumpkins get out there and they honestly, and this is the sad part, they honestly believe that the free press is just telling wholesale lies, and they're out to get people. There's an agenda, an evil liberal agenda, and we cannot believe. But they will readily lap up and scoop up anything from Breitbart or the other ultra-right publications and or media, and they have lost any sort of ability to discern right from wrong, truth from a lie.
Well, that's because they don't care. I mean, once you've brainwashed a segment of the public, and ask Stalin, he knew how to do it quite well. So did Hitler, so did Mussolini, Pol Pot, all sorts of folks in history who have risen to power through the technique of brainwashing, getting people to believe crap is real.
Yeah. You know, I know I'm making light of this, and it's really not a joking, but I can't help it. That's just the way I'm wired. Is I really want to call him, instead of the Khmer Rouge, I want to call him the Khmer Orange. Because it's crazy. You're right. The amount of brainwashing that, I mean, even like with Sarah Huckabee Sanders yesterday, the whole thing about the dishonest media and the way that gaslighting goes on is nothing, folks. It's nothing but the people in the administration throwing red meat to the base. That's all it is.
Right. That's right.
And I'm glad that at least one reporter stood up and said something. And quite frankly, though, folks, I said to myself, as cynical as I sometimes can be, The open question was, geez, I wonder if that guy's West Wing pass is going to work tomorrow.
You never know. I'm probably not. The one thing I would like to see the media do is report on stuff without showing a picture of Donald Trump. If he didn't see his face on the news all the time, he might decide, oh, wow, I guess they really don't like what I'm saying because they won't even show my glamorous picture, just like Time is about to sue him for putting fake covers in all of his golf courses with him on the cover of Time, which never happened. It was a Photoshop job.
Don't you just love that? Here's a guy that's so narcissistic in fantasy land that he didn't hang him up at one property. Oh, no! He hangs up like 5 or 6 properties of a fake Time cover that he was never even on.
Right. So he's getting sued again by somebody else.
Oh, that's beautiful. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. Truth is, at least with the Trump administration, truth is stranger than fiction.
That's right.
Oh, for gosh sakes. We need to move on, though, because we were behind. We got so vocal and so passionate about the health care bill that we need to get on to probably my favorite segment of the week. I love
Mine
it.
too, actually.
I sit here and I say to myself, I wonder who Sir Richard's going to throw up there on the Putts of the Week. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Sir Richard as he tells you who is our Turning Left Putts of the Week.
Well, this week's World's Greatest Putts of the Year award goes to the current EPA administrator who couldn't administrate his way out of a wet paper sack, Scott Pruitt. He and Dom the Con will gut the Clean Water Act, giving a green light to polluters like big coal, energy companies, and chemical companies to dump their toxic, cancer-causing filth into the drinking water of million Americans. Millions. We're talking 117 million Americans. So if you're downstream from a river that you get your drinking water from, the companies now will be dumping all their sewage into your tap. So when you turn on the tap water, just like in Flint, and it looks brown, guess where it came from? Because the EPA's Clean Water Act was designed to protect people so they can have clean, potable water, and make those responsible for messing that up pay to clean it up. That's Scott Pruitt. He's a jerk. Mm-hmm. He is the Grim Reaper. So if you decide that you're going to need to have bottled water, just think of the cost that's going to be over good old tap water.
Right. And he's also your Putts of the Week.
Hey, and a big one at that. We'll give him the Bend Over Award on top of it.
Oh, the Benjamin D. Over Award.
Yes.
Ooh, I like that. That's got promise to it. I'm gonna cogitate on that the next week here. Folks, we're going to go from the Putts of the Week to the Cause of the Week. Each week, Turning Left here, we give you a local charity or nonprofit that you can get involved in, right? This is not only just telling you about it. I'm going to give you the contact information to where you can get out there and try to make the world a better place.
Sounds good to me.
This week's Cause of the Week is Ecology in Classrooms and Outdoors. ECO inspires elementary school students to connect to the natural world by providing hands-on ecology enrichment programs. Since 2005, ECO has brought experimental nature lessons and activities to more than 15,000 students in the greater Portland metro region. They bring expert scientists and residents into elementary school classrooms to help students connect with nature through hands-on science, art, and service projects.
That's a great way to do it. And
Yes.
Little kids soak it up.
We do, and we even have a testimonial from a Fred C. Fred C. says that ECO is the real deal. Exceptional student experiences in the classrooms on outdoor service projects and field trips. In addition to being a donor, Fred C. is working with the ECO as an independent Encore Fellow, helping to expand their reach and impact. ECO programs educate students, advance collaboration skills, and build esteem. Folks, you can help ECO inspire the next generation to understand and revere nature so they will become informed and effective stewards. If you want to look them up online, you can do so. www.ecologyoutdoors.org. Once again, www.ecologyoutdoors.org. Or if you feel like you want to go visit these people in person, you want to press the flesh, shake some hands, kiss babies, whatever you want to do.
Give them some money.
Give them some money. They are located at 4214 Southeast 12th Avenue, Portland, 97202. Once again, 4214 Southeast 12th Avenue, Portland, Oregon.
And it really does help because it gets kids all excited about outdoor school, which they go to in middle school grades. It gets schools to do things like start having gardens on school property.
That's right. Also, this week we have another Turning Left book endorsement.
Hey.
Yes, this week's book endorsement is...
Da, 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 da.
That's right. Giant of the Senate by Senator Al Franken. Yes.
Hooray for Al.
Hooray for Al. From Senator Al Franken, #1 best-selling author and beloved SNL alum, comes the story of an award-winning comedian who decided to run for office and then discovered why award-winning comedians tend not to do that.
It's a lot of work.
That's right. This book is about an unlikely campaign that had an even more improbable ending. The closest outcome in history in an unprecedented 8-month recount saga, which is pretty funny in retrospect. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, in this candid personal memoir, the honorable gentleman from Minnesota takes his army of loyal fans along with him from Saturday Night Live to the campaign trail, inside the halls of Congress and behind the scenes of some of the most dramatic and or hilarious moments of his new career in politics. Has Al Franken become a true giant of the Senate? Franken asks readers to decide for themselves.
Actually, yes, he has.
I believe so. He is one of the bright spots.
Yes, and he asked questions that made Jeff Sessions squirm. And actually, it ended up that Sessions perjured himself on that question.
Yeah. So get on to Amazon, get on to Barnes & Noble, or go to your local bookstore and purchase it. It is a highly entertaining book, and really, when you read it, you come away with, and this is actually no ghostwriter. He's the guy that
Oh, no. Well, he was a writer for SNL for years.
And what comes through, and I know he uses, a lot of humor as a tool, and sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle of how really bright he is.
Yes, he is.
And really, it is a very cool book. You could do worse.
Yes, and just for knowledge's sake, there are very few stupid comedians. You have to have a lot of skills to make people laugh. That's one of the hardest things there is to do.
That's right. And coincidentally, that's why I'm not a comedian.
Me neither.
Yeah. But, there's one story I want to talk about, and with the last few minutes we got left, is about this growing, really concerning. It hits me, and I know it hits Doc, and I know it hits you, Sir Richard, as well. The whole privatizing of national parks and monuments, how they want to
drill in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, and I see signs, right? Yellowstone National Park by Pepsi, or Taco Bell's Yosemite.
Well, actually, in Yosemite, that's almost the way it is, because they had a big falling out with the company that was trying to manage the resources for the food. I mean, for restaurants and housing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can do my cheesy FM voice real quick, because now you can visit Mount Rushmore by. Let's see. Let's do a corporate. What do you think? What corporation?
Hey kids, you can visit Mount Rushmore. Brought to you by Monsanto. We killed everything around it, but it's still there.
That's right, folks. Monsanto brings you Mount Rushmore. Family, friends, get your dog, get your grandma, get your Uncle Earl, and get out there today, because Mount Rushmore
will be Mount Rushless.
That's right. I love that. I was going to throw in DuPont there, but I figured no.
Well, DuPont's in the Appalachians.
Monsanto.
You know, think of Crater Lake with a big sign on it saying
Right.
"For sale, highest bidder," and then along comes the Koch brothers or Standard Oil.
Right. Monsanto, because little Bobby did need 3 arms.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it bothers me, the whole philosophy behind taking the most precious parks and monuments out of public trust and putting it into privatization. That, I mean, it's just going to be about earning a buck.
Yeah, it's the heritage of America, and I can tell you that if Teddy Roosevelt was around, he'd be shooting people that even came up with that idea.
Right. I mean, even
Or he'd beat the crap out of them.
for God's sakes, even a guy like Nixon, who had started the EPA and stuff, I couldn't even see him doing something like that. Right?
No. In fact, this is the most this is what I would call one of those red flag outrageous statements that it's there to get people all riled up while they're really doing the true nasty stuff undercovers. It's smoke and mirrors, folks. Smoke and mirrors.
Right. It's incredible. And speaking of monuments, late breaking this morning, I believe this is in, let's see here.
Was it Arkansas, Missouri?
Yes. There was a Ten Commandments monument, and I believe you're right. I believe it is Arkansas.
On public property.
On public property, and it got it got pretty much trashed. Let's take a look at it here if I can find it. Of course not, because I am literally 2 degrees from a Luddite. So the smartphone doesn't apply to the user in this case. But I believe it is Arkansas. It got trashed. Someone in a truck, I believe,
Ran over it.
ran it over. And while I am not for defacing any property, don't get me wrong, I'm not publicly condoning any sort of vandalism. It's just, I believe someone maybe got a little tired of...
Well, they probably realized that nobody was enforcing the separation of church and state,
right.
which is actually, I know this is scary, folks, in the Constitution.
Yeah, I mean...
Talk to Thomas Jefferson.
And I think next week we're going to delve a little bit more into the privatization of national parks. And I also want to start talking about the changes as it applies to the Supreme Court and the bills that they're now, not bills, but the challenges now that they're going to start looking at, including marriage equality.
The ban on the Muslim ban.
Yeah.
A variety of big issues are coming up.
Because people thought that even though Gorsuch was kind of to the right, surely he's not going to be, to the right of Clarence Thomas.
Oh, he is.
And he is far to the right of even the Clarence Thomas and a Scalia. And it's almost like we are going back 100 years.
Well, he's the kind of guy that put in all the post-Civil War rules, separate but equal.
The hardcore Jim Crow
laws. Yeah. So the Supreme Court doesn't have the rosiest of histories, and to go back to that would be a travesty.
Yeah.
And the American public just shouldn't stand for it.
We shouldn't. And folks, if you think that those days are the good old days, I think you may need to re-examine what the good old days were, because if you were a minority or if you were a woman, chances are it wasn't the brightest of eras for you.
No, I mean, for women, they had 3 choices: motherhood, being a nurse, and being a teacher.
Yeah.
For people of color, they didn't even have those choices.
Right. So things are... And historically speaking, things are starting to come to a head a little bit. And there are a lot of problems and a lot of philosophies now that in 2017, now into the 21st century, it makes me a little ashamed to think that a lot of these take courage to stand up for things that should only be common sense.
Right. America is becoming a mean-spirited, angry country that is nothing like what the Founding Fathers wanted it to be.
Amen.
They were interested in a progressive, vibrant nation that had a strong economy and basically, at the time, stood up for everybody, even though when it was written, you had to be white, you had to be a landowner to actually vote. But it has changed because progress is what made America what it is today.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to end on that there, Sir Richard.
Sounds
I think
good.
We're good to go. Folks, thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for spending some time in this bastion of progressive thought, this outpost on the frontier of democracy. Yeah, I see. I can do hyperbole too. I'm not bad at it.
Hey, yeah, it works for me.
But thank you so much, Sir Richard.
Great to be here again.
Doc, thank you so much, man. Photobomb in the back. There he is. There's the hand. And folks, tune in next week, Wednesday at noon, or you can get up on YouTube during the week and check out the show again. Download it, learn it, love it, live it. We'll be back next week on Turning Left with Jason Elm and Sir Richard.
I'll be there.
Hasta la bye-bye.